Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom, and we are Shot Science Basketball. This is Shot Science Overtime number 127.
Whew, 127.
Yep,
Wow.
getting up there. So what we do every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, every Sunday that we have our live show, we try to give you guys a topic that we think is going to help you develop your game, make you a better player. And we talk about that for about 15 minutes. And while we're doing that, you guys are sending us your questions via Twitter or through the app here on Google Plus or on the stream on YouTube. But just send us your questions and we'll do our best to get back to you guys and answer as many questions as we possibly can. Try to get them in early because that pretty much assures that you'll have your question answered. When we get to the end, it's really hard to get to everybody. So send us your questions, and you can reach us. We're at Shot Science on all those places I mentioned before. Make sure you tell your friends and family to watch because that helps us grow what we're doing and helps grow the team and make Shot Science a bigger deal. So send us your questions, anything basketball related. It can be on shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, athletic training and conditioning, whatever it is, send it our way and we'll do our best to answer your questions. And keep in mind that this is our live show. This is not a regular Shot Science video that's 2 to 3 minutes long. This is going to be about an hour long. And, we're going to talk about some important topics. And if it helps you, that's cool. If not, then you don't have to watch it. But, we like to be here to help you guys get a coach's perspective and answer your questions that you might not ask otherwise. So we're going to get right into the topic today. Today's topic is how to fix your flat shot. Since we work with shooting pretty much on an everyday basis, right. That's kind of one of our emphasis points that we'd like to jump in on. We see a lot of people that struggle with their shooting. And one of the biggest things that people struggle with is kind of the arc of their shot. Right. Flat shot being kind of the key killer on a lot of people's percentage points.
Yeah, that's really the truth. One of the things that we don't really ever think about when we're shooting a basketball is the fact that when we shoot a flat shot, the target gets smaller. And so, and that's kind of hard to understand possibly sometimes, but
we show that in our videos though. So.
Yeah, we show you. And so you understand, if you look at the video, kind of understand it, it makes more sense.
Well, let's talk about it real quick.
Go ahead.
I mean, you brought it up.
Okay.
So when you're shooting a regular kind of nicely arced shot, the target of the rim is going to look essentially like a circle.
Yep.
In terms of what the ball sees as it's flying through the air.
Right.
And you want it to see that because there's so much more usable space in a circle than a flat shot, which the ball sees more of an oval shape. And when that happens, it's not going to be able to utilize the front edge of that rim. And so it's got to kind of go over this midway point to even get in there. And so you're constraining it even more than you would if you were able to use that entire oval. So basically the flat shot is going to have a smaller target to actually be successful in making the shot. So you want to have a higher arc shot, and there's a limit to that too, because the more arc you put on the shot, the longer the shot actually is, and that adds in another variable. So you want to kind of find the optimal height, but you want to have that height that really gives you kind of that full circle target. Because that gives you more usable space to get the ball in.
Exactly. When you shoot a basketball that just comes over the front rim, what actually happens is you're shooting at a target that's about 10 inches in diameter. As you get the arc up to around 45, 55 degrees, something in that neighborhood, you're going to find that the basket, now you're shooting at a larger target, and it's going to be about somewhere in the neighborhood of 16 inches. The basket on the inside itself is 18. But we don't really ever shoot with an arc, at least we don't teach it, shoot with an arc where you're going to be shooting at that whole target. But having the larger target is really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, what's going to happen is it's easier to get the shot in there. But when we shoot with a higher arc, if the ball lands on the rim, it will tend to bound upward rather than back and away from the basket. And so when it bounds upward, you have a much better chance of the ball still falling in. And so we teach that is really important for us to be able to have more arc and a softer shot so the ball tends to bound up and stay around the basket.
Yeah, I mean, that's like if you look at the trajectory of the ball when it's a flat shot, it's coming in at this angle and it hits the rim, it's going to come back at a similar angle.
Exactly.
And that, it's going to be very acute and it's not going to give the ball a second chance. If you shoot a ball with nice arc, it's going to hit the rim at an angle where it's going to go back in the same essential direction. And so that's going to be up instead of out. And you want it to go up because that's going to give you that shooter's touch, shooter's roll, where the ball has an opportunity to stay right there at the rim.
Right.
And the fact that you're shooting at a bigger target, nobody wants to shoot at smaller targets. You're not proving anybody by shooting at the smaller target when it comes to basketball. You want to shoot at the biggest possible target.
Exactly. You want it to go in the hole. One of the things that does happen, though, that's kind of interesting is if we have a nice arc, and let's say we have a flat arc and it hits the back rim, it's going to spit it right back out. It's going to be a long rebound, typically. Typically, also, if we have a nice arc and it hits the backside or the inside of that back rim, it has a tendency to deflect downward into the basket. So that's a plus as well. So that's really important for us to take and try to get that shot with more arc on it. So that brings us to the question, how do we do that?
Well, I mean, I think let's talk about the ways that, or the reasons why you might have a flat shot. And, I think probably the number one reason why is because you're finishing lower than you should with your release.
Right.
So instead of finishing high, you're finishing low. And what that's going to do is that the ball is essentially going to go where your arm is directing it. So if you're directing it and you're releasing low, the ball is going to come out at that similar angle.
Right.
If you are releasing high, the ball is going to come out at that angle as well.
Exactly.
Right. So a lot of people we see, they'll have that flat shot that they're pulling down on, or they're shooting from over the top of their head, and they're kind of doing the catapult thing where they are using their elbow as the fulcrum and they're pulling down, and the ball is still, it's going straight. You want to get the ball up and away from kind of in front and away from your shooting side eye. And what that'll do is that'll get it in the proper spot. And then you want to finish high with your elbow above your eye or your eye level. Because if you do that, then it's going to have a good chance of having good arc. If you pull it down and your elbow's below your eye level, that's going to probably result in a flat shot.
Right. And one of the other things that's really important is that we have our arm in preparation for shooting in a what we call an L position. If we've got the arm here in L position, then we elevate, we're going to get nice arc. If we have it in here and it goes to the V position, what happens is that this just becomes a lever that gives you that flat shot. And so very important to have the L configuration of the elbow and that you elevate so that the arm finishes higher than your eye level. That's really critical for getting that getting more arc on the shot. And you're shooting at a bigger target.
So what's another way that people might have a flat shot?
Well, I think probably the one that I see more than anything else is the fact that they extend the arm out and down. I had a student this morning, and that's exactly what she was doing. She just, the whole time, she just kept pulling the ball down at the end, and so the shot's always flat. And we finally got it to the point where she was releasing at a higher point, and she was getting the arc, and the ball started to fall for her at that particular time.
Right. And, I think one of the ones that we talked about too was when you pull the ball back over the top of your head, it's hard to have any kind of finish where you're going to get any kind of elevation on your shot.
Exactly right.
I mean, you're essentially putting it in a place where it's going to be difficult to do anything but come straight out.
Exactly.
And that's really not going to give you the best elevation or arc on your shot. And, the other one is, anything that's, coming out from your chest or anything like that. You really have to work on getting that nice high release and anything where your elbow starts to come out, that's going to result in a flat shot because it's really hard to do any kind of elevation like that. It's always going to come out a little bit, a little bit lower down on the release.
Yep.
And so you want to make sure that you're getting you don't have to jam your elbow in. A lot of people think, some of the old ways of teaching were that you just you had your body squared and you jammed your elbow in to the point where it was uncomfortable. And the reality is that shooting is really a one-handed, one-sided type of mechanic.
It is.
And so you have to kind of give your body that slight stagger to the side, emphasizing your shooting side, and you have your arm in. And you don't have to jam your elbow in. You can really just get it at that comfortable spot. And, one of the things that other people do too is they try to get their hand behind the ball like that. And that's really creating lots of tension. You don't need to do that. You just kind of get it at that very comfortable kind of Y shape right in front of your eye. We call it that, the yoke.
Yoke.
And you just get it in that comfortable kind of ergonomic spot, and you're in good shape. You just want to make sure you're finishing high.
One of the things about our skeleton is that when we raise our hands up, the arms tend to hang at a very natural angle. And that angle right there is showing the elbows or the arm is out about 10 degrees from plumb. Plumb is straight up and down. And that's just very natural for us. When we start pulling it in here, like Casey said, everything starts to tighten up, and we're not very effective with that. Just letting it hang there at a 10 degrees, which is very normal for most everybody, that's the best situation.
Right. And, like we said, if you want to shoot at a larger target, you need to make sure that you are utilizing that, the higher arc that's going to give you the kind of the right size and shape to put the ball in.
Yeah.
If you're shooting it at an oval with a circle, or a sphere like a ball, then it's not going to give you the same kind of accuracy that you're going to want. Right. And we see a lot of people that always point out Kobe and some of these other guys that might have a little bit of a flatter shot. And the fact of the matter is that some of those guys probably do shoot with a flatter shot, and Kobe does. And one of the reasons why is because he fades away a lot when he shoots, and he also has a tendency to have a lower release. But that doesn't mean that that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
He is one of those people that has put in thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of hours on doing what he does, and he might have overcome that obstacle of having a flat shot where he's able to make it accurate. We're trying to set you up with the best fundamentals and information to start with, so that you can use those to be reach your optimal level faster than you would if you had to do it the way that maybe Kobe Bryant did.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of these guys, they probably figured out their shooting style in a vacuum, or maybe they were working with somebody that didn't really know kind of the fundamentals that will lead you to these better starts. But whatever the case may be, you want to start with the best fundamentals, because you'll be able to build your shot around those, and it will lead you to kind of your potential way faster than if you're just trying to make it work.
Right. And most everybody that we come in contact with are able to develop a really pretty good shot. Some of them are better, some of them are a little weaker, but most everybody gets that and is able to get their shot to be fairly effective for them. And I can't remember any that were just total failures in being able to get it done. Some took longer, but that's what you want to do on your shot. Spend your time so that thing is effective when you shoot it. That's really critical.
Yeah.
And that arc is so important for being successful too.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about this for just a few more minutes. And if you guys have questions, send them in to us right now. This is the best time. But you want to shoot at the best target you can possibly get. And that is a target that is the entire surface area of that rim. Like, you don't want to shoot at a smaller target. So it would make no sense to have a flat shot if you know that it's a flat shot.
Yeah.
We see people shooting all the time, and they have that flat shot, and it's like, are you even coaching yourself? Because that's one of the things, is that if you are a basketball player and you want to be successful, you can't just rely on the hour or 2 hours that you might have with a coach, if you even get that, because maybe they're not even giving you one-on-one attention on that kind of stuff. But you can't rely on them to help you in that small time period when you are with yourself 24 hours a day. Yeah. You need to be your best coach. And you see these guys that are the greatest players out there, and all of them are literally coaches in their own right, because they're able to look at the way that they're playing. They're able to analyze their shooting and their defense or whatever. And they can look at it and like, wow, my shot is really flat. And maybe they have to go back and look at video, or maybe they are able to assess it in the moment, but they are coaching themselves. And that's what you want to be able to be doing too. So when we see people shooting with flat shots or shooting with some kind of limiting factor, it's kind of like, what are you doing to yourself? Why are you doing that? So flat shot is really, it's unacceptable.
It is. And, we have a shooting machine that we use that puts the top of that net on all sides at about 13 feet. maybe a little bit more than that. And so in order to get it over that net by probably 2 to 3 feet, that gives us the angle that we're looking for, that 45 to 55 degree angle. And when we go, people take and they come here and they work and work, and then when they go home and they have their own court they're working on, that net is not there, and so the shot tends to flatten out. So you have to have that mentality that the net is there so that you get the ball at the proper arc. Once you kind of get that figured out, you'd be surprised just how effective that you can be.
Yeah, and if you guys have problems with your shot, you can send us those videos. Send us some linked with some short clips or whatever of your shooting from different angles and wide view and all that, and we will try our best to really help you guys figure all that out, because you know, it might not be something that you feel comfortable assessing on your own, but we would like to help you if we can. Okay, so we're going to cut it off right there. If you guys can send us your questions, that would be great. We're going to try to get to as many people as we possibly can, but this first one is going to come from Google Plus, and it is from Dylan Mikhail Hatton, who says, Coach, I have a problem with confidence. When I'm subbed in the game, I'm afraid of making a fool of myself on the court, and I tend to never play as well as in practice. Any advice?
Yeah, you know, this is something that we hear on a regular basis about how you don't have confidence when you play. And you know what? You have to take and just let things be. When we go out there and we play in fear, you're going to make mistakes. And you're going to make more mistakes than if you just let it go and play. One of the things about confidence is really kind of an interesting thing. When we have a little confidence, we don't worry about what may happen. And that's important for you to remember. And the thing is, remember this, is that everybody that plays the game of basketball, every level in the world makes mistakes. Everybody does. And what happens is that the more lack of confidence that you have, the more mistakes you're going to make. And so just relax and play, and whatever happens, happens. And you know, oftentimes you feel like you're probably being evaluated by your co-players or evaluated by the coach, which you probably are. But the thing is that the more pent up that you are about playing, the more mistakes you're probably going to make. Okay, and you won't be out on the court as much. Just let it all go. You'd be surprised how much more effective you'll be if you just quit worrying and having fear for making errors, making mistakes. Just play.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing too is that if you have confidence in your skills, you're going to have confidence in your execution of those skills. So you really need to make sure that you're spending the time to develop that stuff outside of actually playing games, and then applying it in games when you kind of feel like it's going to be there for you. And, you know, we talk about the 3 pillars of practice all the time. And that involves kind of dialing everything in, getting game speed, game intensity practice, and then applying it in game experience. And so that's really another important approach that you need to work on too. And, you know, the other thing is that we have video on this too. I think it's called Make and Practice, Miss in Games, or something like that. And that really talks about kind of applying game speed, game intensity practice. And a lot of people don't do that. They just think that they can go in and they can just casually shoot around or dribble around or whatever, and it's going to be all good when they get out there on the court and they actually have a guy guarding them. But that's not really how it works. So, you know, you have to put in the time and you have to put in the effort to you know, get the game experience, because that makes it feel like when you actually step out on the floor, you've been there before, and it's not just like a new thing. So next question. This is from Anthony Chen, who says, is the Spalding Soft Tack Pro Basketball any good? What are some good cone exercises I can do to practice to prepare for high school basketball? Well, when it comes to different basketballs, you got to kind of check out your own and see which ones you like to use. If it feels good to you, then go for it. You might want to check some of the reviews online to make sure that it's not something that'll wear out right away. Things that you don't want to do is you don't want to use an indoor ball outdoor unless it says indoor outdoor on it.
Exactly.
Because those indoor basketballs will just degrade super fast, and they're usually more expensive anyways. So make sure you get a ball that's going to work, and maybe do a little research on it and see if people say that it holds up over time. And that's kind of the way you got to go with it. When it comes down to what are some good cone exercises to do to practice, prepare for high school basketball, I mean, there's literally a list that would be longer than your arm.
Yeah.
I think that, when it comes to practice, you really have to kind of think about it in terms of getting consistent quality repeatability. And so if you're setting up cones, you could do anything as a cone drill, really. But when it comes down to like dribbling and stuff, typically people use the cones as a place marker to where they're going to change directions or change speeds. So if you go to our channel, you can look at our dribbling drills, and we have a bunch of them in there that are just cone drills.
Yeah.
We have some that are zigzags. We have some that are star drills. I think we even have some conditioning drills that you could probably do that are cone or dot based. The dots are essentially the same thing as kind of cones.
Right.
So, I mean, it depends on really what you're trying to get at, but those are the things that to check into. When it comes to preparing for high school basketball, I think that there's different things that you need to do to be prepared for that, leading up to like tryouts and things. Number one is having your basketball skills in order and where they need to be, right?
Yep.
Number two is having your conditioning and athleticism to where they need to be.
Exactly.
You can't start working on both of those things, 2 or 3 days or a week before and hope that they're going to be there.
Yeah.
It will not
They
happen.
won't be there. Yeah.
And then the other thing is kind of the politics of team play and basketball and coaches. So if you are planning on just walking into the gym the day of tryouts and making the team, good luck. That might happen, but it's also good to go in and maybe get some time during the open gyms leading up. It's always good to go in there the summer before and make sure the coach knows who you are. Play with the other guys that are on the team. Get some time in front of those people and know those people so that they're not just seeing you for the first time at tryouts.
Exactly right.
Right. And that's kind of the game you have to play a little bit. But it's so much better. I mean, I remember going to tryouts when I was in high school and even junior high and stuff. And these guys would show up and you didn't even know who they were. And they expected to make the team. And sometimes they did. But typically, if you had never seen the guy before and he just shows up, then he's not going to be on the team come the end of the cuts. So make sure you're getting yourself out there. And that will help you big time. So I think you need those 3 things and start working on them ASAP. Let's see. This one is from Christian Noveras, who says, what does it mean to be coachable?
Well, as I think about this is really a good question. And the thing that I always think about is this: a player that is coachable is one who listens to a coach and listens to older players. And lets that he learns from what they have to say to him instead of turning it off. There are some players who are not coachable, who they won't listen. When a coach is talking to them, they're staring off into some other part of the gym, meaning that you are turned off. And so they don't really want to hear what you have to say. And yet somehow they feel like they have all the answers. I can remember a few players along the line of my coaching experience that I got really frustrated with because they felt like they knew more than me. And I've been coaching for decades before they were even born. And yet they thought they knew more than I did. And it's possible they maybe did, but I doubt that. And so the thing is that to be coachable, you have to be able to open up your ears, make eye contact with the coach who is talking to you, and try and take in what they're telling you so that it will help to improve your game. Coaches don't coach people to make you worse. They coach you to make you better. And so you want to listen to that and see how you can shape your game based around the things that they're talking to you so you improve. That's being coachable.
Yeah. And I think being coachable also kind of references being easily coached.
Yeah.
And so you're making their job easier by showing leadership qualities, by setting examples, by following their directions, and just kind of not being difficult.
Yeah.
A lot of times guys that aren't coachable are just jerks, or they're the guys that are just screwing around, or girls that are just screwing around when it's time to not be doing those kind of things. So to be coachable, it just means that you're open and willing to listen to what the coach has to say and work with the team and again, show those leadership qualities
Right.
that are super important.
Yep.
Taking initiative, showing effort, hustling
And getting the job done. That's really what it all comes down to, is getting the job done because you're listening.
Yeah. Um, let's see. This is from our buddy Nate Thompson, who is at NateT_AF on Twitter. He's here most every week. He says, how do I make sure my reps are translating to games and make sure I'm taking game speed shots? I assume just putting up a bunch of fast shots anyway, anywhere isn't going to help me too much. Well, no. I mean, you have to have,
there has to be some form to what you're doing.
It needs to be quality, whatever you're doing. I mean, you can't just go in there and just, again, I mean, it's the same thing like as doing casual shooting. That doesn't really apply to the game either.
Right.
And if you're just doing like no quality just for speed or just for volume, then that doesn't help you from the opposite end of the spectrum. What you want to do is you want to create kind of the environment you would find if you were to step out on the basketball court. Obviously, it's going to be more controlled because you're going to be going for repetitions, but you can bring in a defender to play against you.
Sure.
You can bring in your visualization to create that defender in front of you in your mind and pretend like you're in the game. Really, it's playing at the pace that you would if you were actually playing in a game. You're not trying to go over that,
right?
Because that's the same, that will hurt you just as much as going under that.
Sure.
So you want to really go at the speed and intensity of a game.
Right. And you want the shots and whatnot that you are working on to be relative to what you might get in a basketball game. If we're yakking up shots from 24, 25 feet, that's not real. You might hit one of those once in a while, but maybe it is a hard drive and a pull up for a quick shot at the baseline, or a hard drive and a quick pull up shot at the key. All of these things, shots that maybe you will get in the game, those are the ones that you want to work on. And maybe you work them off of different dribble patterns, and that sort of thing really kind of helps your body to accommodate to those higher speed of execution. And that's what it's all about. Is game speed is a lot more intense than if you're just practicing, and it needs to be.
Yeah. And, you know, the real thinking around this stuff is that you are trying to essentially create the scenarios of the game. And so you have to kind of have a feel for what that is anyways, and then build up to it.
Sure.
So using the first pillar of practice, you have to really dial in your mechanics, get everything into the place it needs to be. And that might mean that you par everything way, way down so that it's really in slow motion, or you're working on one aspect of it and really getting that polished, and then putting all the pieces together and picking up the speed as you master it.
Yep.
But eventually you're going to get to the point where you need to get those applied at game speed. And so you're going to add in movement, you're going to add in changes of direction, you're going to add in the defender, you're going to add in different scenarios or different reactions you might have to use, whatever it is, but you're going to have to create those game scenarios. And that's really what you want to do. You're not trying to create scenarios that will never happen, or things that barely happen, or anything like that. I mean, you really want to set yourself up for what you're going to see in the games, and kind of the different looks that you might get from defenses, and playing at the speed and intensity of those things.
Right.
So that's kind of where that is. It's not about volume. Like when we say we want to see you shoot over 200 quality shots, that doesn't mean that you shot 500 shots and they were just garbage because you were trying to do them too fast, or you weren't thinking about them, or whatever. It's better to shoot 200 quality shots, or even 100 quality shots, than to go out there and just shoot 500 garbage shots.
Exactly. Yeah. Quality.
Yeah. And, you do eventually get to the point where you have to switch it up and do something different, or you need to stop what you're doing when you are doing a certain skill or a certain particular thing, and you can kind of see that you're mentally fatiguing or you're physically fatiguing to the point where you wouldn't actually see it in the game, then it's time to stop and change and do something else. Because if you're not fully present and really getting at it where it means something, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly right.
All right. Next question is from Anthony Chin. He says, yesterday I went to my high school weight room training, and after that my muscles felt weak and I couldn't fully lift up my arms. We did a 30-minute exercise with push-ups, crunches, Superman side squats with heavy weight. For me, it was 25 pounds. Squats with heavy weight, mountain climbers, holy moly, that's a lot of stuff. Today my muscles, my shoulders, my arm, and especially my back hurts. What should I do? Is it okay to practice shooting with my arms feel weak? Yesterday, when I went to practice, when my muscles were weak, my form was different, and I made a lot of air balls. Will practicing when my arms feel weak mess up my shot?
Well, it, the thing is that when you get into these real intense workouts like you're describing here, for you to go immediately to a basketball practice, you're going to have problems. The muscles are going to be tight, more than likely. They're going to be fatigued, and you're going to have difficulty in getting really good execution out of them. So rest is really the important thing for you to consider there. What was the other part of that question? I kind of lost that.
Well, I would also say, one of the things that you're going to face when you're playing sports and you're doing conditioning and all that kind of stuff is that there are trade-offs. And one of those is that you cannot be fully training and playing competitive basketball at the same time.
Yep.
You will never be able to fully recover in time. And it's just not what you should do. That's why training in the off season or conditioning in the off season is really something to be doing. And also, I think high schoolers doing a ton of this weightlifting stuff, it is not going to help you as much as you think it is.
No.
A lot of people like to think, oh, well, if I do this weight training regime program, it's going to make me go from a 5-point per game player to a 25-point per game player. That almost never will happen.
Right.
Sure, it's great to have maybe some extra strength or whatever, but it's not what really takes you to the next level. What takes you to the next level is skills.
Exactly.
And maybe even athleticism is a better approach than trying to bulk and do all these things. And I can tell you that because I did all the weightlifting and weight training and stuff like that when I was in high school. And I don't think that it's as important as people make it until you start to get to the college level and stuff, and you start playing against these people that are, they are not only athletes, they are also extremely strong, and that will help you. But you also have matured your body to the point where that actually will work for you better than if you're a young person that's still growing. And growing is not an easy process. You have to use a lot of fuel and have a lot of rest and recovery and stuff. And then on top of that, you're adding in all this weight training and also playing and conditioning and all that. I don't think that that's the best way to go about it.
No, not at all.
And you probably don't have the resources to have the best advice and help on that stuff. And it's not good to just wing it, because unless somebody is a trained professional, even then you never know. But unless somebody is a trained professional with certifications and things like that, you don't want to be going forward and doing weight assisted training or weight resisted training. And the other thing is that if you are doing some kind of conditioning and training, do it after you do your basketball training.
Truly.
Because if you're doing it before, you're going
to be exhausted.
Yeah. Consider that let's say you're doing some kind of leg workout and then you go in and you're trying to shoot. You don't have anything left in your legs. And so that's going to affect your shooting mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into the gym the next day, and that your mechanics are not the same as they were when you had done the training before. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to put the basketball training first, because if you're going to go into a game and you're going to be playing, you're not going to go into that game after having trained your legs. So it's one of those things that you really have to have a smart approach to. Okay, let's see here. This one is from Matt Babick, who says, I tend to get really anxious before games. Is that normal?
Yes, it is. We all have anxieties about how we're going to do and that sort of thing before games. And usually what I kind of recall from a competition is that you would have that anxiety for the first couple of minutes until you're up and down the floor a couple of times. And then that anxiety tends to fall off, and then you get into the game and go. That's just kind of the way it is. And I can't tell you why, but anxiety will usually subside after the first 2 or 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah. And, the thing about it is that if you're getting yourself worked up about going to play, then you're already kind of counting yourself out, and you need to really just let that go, because it's better to play in the moment and not worry about all the extraneous things that are happening, what's going on in the crowd, what's going on with your coach or on the bench or whatever it is, or what your expectations are for the game. It's good just to go out there and do it. And I mean, I was one of those people that was always in my head about that stuff too. And I'm sure most people probably are, but
Yeah.
the great players, they are not sitting there just stewing and thinking about what's going to go wrong and what's, I mean, they're thinking, probably if they're thinking about anything in the future, they're thinking about, I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to play as hard as I can. And I'm just going to beat the crap out of those guys. Because their confidence is what they kind of lean on.
Sure.
And it's fine to have false confidence too in that situation where you're maybe building yourself up a little bit more, but don't let negativity or thoughts of how you're going to fail hold you back. That's the worst thing you can do.
True is.
So just kind of play presently. Let's see. This one is from Johnny Burrick, who says, how can I tell for sure if my release point is straight at the rim? I can't tell.
Well, when you release the basketball, you want to release the basketball with these two fingers going right toward the middle of the basket. And you can pretty much tell if you're doing that at the end of the stroke. You can even look at them and see. Oftentimes players will take and reach out and the hand will sweep sideways, or the hand will reach out and they will pronate. And pronation is turning your wrist sideways as you release. All of those things are going to negatively affect your shot. What you want to do is make sure that you just make sure it's coming off those two fingers right there on the release, and it's going right to the middle of the hoop. Real important.
Yeah. And, again, I will reiterate the fact that it is so important that you are your own best coach in these situations. Yep. And you can definitely tell if you are finishing right at the rim. I mean, you can shoot it and you can look up at your hand and see what happened after the fact. Just hold your pose there. Nice yawn.
I'm sorry.
Hold your pose there and take a look. Where is your hand? Is it in the place it needs to be? Is it whatever? And if that is something that you don't feel comfortable doing, videotape yourself.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do now with smartphones. You can have your mom or whoever stand out there and videotape you as you're shooting. Yeah. You can even do slow motion if you have an iPhone, or most phones probably do slow motion. But the thing is that you need to be your own best coach. And if you have some mistake or problem or hitch or whatever it is in your shot that you want to fix, you've identified it, do it. It's going to take some time to dial it in, but if you get the consistent repetition, the muscle memory builds up and then you won't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But there is no magic pill. You don't need to buy some goofy, gimmicky thing that you put on or anything like that. All that stuff is not necessary. And the greatest shooters in the world, they didn't use any of that stuff. Yeah. As much as they might try to sell it to you, they didn't ever use that stuff while they were developing their shooting. So really, it's going to be on you to figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you need some help, we can try to help you. Yeah. But that really, be your own best coach. Check it out yourself. Analyze your videos, whatever. Let's see. This one is from Yes, I'm Good, who says, hello, I have a question. When I'm driving towards the goal, what should be going on in my mind? Like focus on the shot or pass it or what?
Well, there's a lot of things that kind of come into play there when you're driving the basket, and some of them occur early in the drive, some of them a little later in the drive. The thing that we think is real important is that as you are driving the basket and you have a player that you're working against and you have them in kind of a neutral position, is that you begin to leverage them toward the split line. And by that, you mean you're getting your body into them, and we're not jamming them or shoving or anything, but they're trying to do the same thing to you. They're trying to leverage you to the outside of the court, and you want to be trying to leverage them to the inside of the court. And I think that's really an important issue for learning how to attack the basket, is how to use your body. Years and years ago, basketball was not a contact sport. It is today. And a lot of it is allowed today that wouldn't have been allowed several decades ago. And so it's important that as you're driving, you're looking to leverage that person so that you can maybe get an opening for the shot at the finish. One of the things that we try to instill in our people that are attacking the basket is we're leveraging them toward the split line. And the split line is that line between basket to basket. We're trying to leverage there. And then when we get right into the area where we want to shoot the shot, we want to give them a little bit of a bump so that creates a little space for you to get the shot off. Now, that doesn't mean that you give them an elbow and knock them flat on the floor, but we give them just a little bump, and that little bump is probably going to be considered as incidental contact, and you're probably going to be fine, and you're going to be open for the shot. As far as the other options that we were talking about there on that, what were the other options that
he's just saying, like, focus on the shot or pass or what? Here, let me jump in on that. I think that when it comes down to what should be on your mind, you should be thinking about who on my team has the best opportunity to score. How do I create a better opportunity?
Yeah, that's true.
So it doesn't really matter if you should be focusing on shot or pass or what. You shouldn't be focusing on any of those things, really. You should be focusing on where's the opportunity. If you have the ball, you are the primary opportunity until you see somebody else that has a primary opportunity, or you can create a better opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're driving at the rim and you see that the defender of your teammate is pulling off of him and coming to you, then you don't become the primary opportunity. Your teammate does, because they're open.
Yeah.
And so you drop the pass to them. If you drive and that guy doesn't come off and you have a wide open layup, you're obviously the option.
Yeah.
So you make the shot. Or if you drive and they come and they meet you and there's a rotation and maybe they cover the guy that came off of you or whatever, then that means somebody else is open. Hit them on the perimeter or whatever.
Yeah.
And they get the shot because that's the opportunity. Or maybe you pass the ball, set a screen. Or maybe your teammate comes, sets a screen, and you use the screen. You see them. They've sealed the man behind them. You drop them the pass. There's the opportunity there. I think too many times people are thinking or they're in the mindset of the position they play. A point guards only pass, or point guards only distribute, which is not true. But a lot of people think that. So they think, I'm a shot first person. I'm a pass first person. That is garbage.
Yeah. You want to be a basketball player.
Yeah. You want to look for and create opportunities.
Yeah.
That's really what you want to have on your mind. Anything else?
Nope,
okay,
that's good.
Balas Gaman Crib says, what does a coach want to see at tryouts?
Go to our video on that.
Yeah, we have a video called Make the Team that not even that. We have several videos on that. But if you go to our Make the Team videos or the tryouts playlist, you'll see that there's all these things that coaches look for. It's not necessarily just skills. So, if even if the best player out there has these awesome skills and he's a great player or she's a great player, if they're a jerk, coaches don't want them on the team.
Yeah.
So there's these other qualities that we think, and other coaches definitely think too. And one of the coaches we have on our videos will tell you that, is that there are other qualities that are very important as well. Yeah. And going out there and playing like you're making your new and one mixtape, not a good idea. Because coaches don't want to see that stuff. They don't care what moves you can pull off that make the guy look foolish that's guarding you. They want to see a person that can contribute to the team, make a shot, play defense, hustle, and be coachable.
Yep. All of those things. Yeah.
Okay. This one is from Nate Thompson again on Twitter. He says, is the only place I can really practice close shots / layups in games. Obviously, when I'm by myself, it is very easy to make an offhand layup. But when I actually have to go back somebody stronger than me down or blow by and score on a drive, it is very different. How can I get better at this? And also, would a contested layup better than an open mid-range shot, or be better than an open mid-range shot? Okay, there's a couple questions there. No, the only places that you can practice is the only place I can really practice close shots, layups in games. No, I mean, obviously you're going to practice your close shots and layups on your own as well.
Sure, absolutely.
They're the same as any other shot. You're going to practice them in the 3 pillars of practice. You're going to do your dialed in kind of repetitive practice that it slows everything down and makes it so that you're really dialing everything in. Then you're going to do your game speed, game intensity, maybe throw it in a defender if you can, maybe throw in dummy defense, whatever it is. You just got to work on creating that game-like environment.
Right.
Obviously, by myself, it's very easy to make an offhand layup, but when I actually have to back somebody, okay. So you got to work on all these different types of shots and dribble attacks or whatever at game speed with people helping you out on defense and everything on your own time. You're talking about here backing people down and blowing by. Okay, number one, backing people down is one of the things that we hate the most about basketball today. Number one, it is a blatant foul, offensive foul, because you're you're taking the position away from the defender who has established that position. It's also lazy.
Yes.
It is the worst way to play post basketball, because you're essentially not really using your skill to create the opportunity. And creating any opportunity is really about creating space, which that doesn't do. It's fine to use contact to set something up.
Yep.
And contact is very important in the post because it helps you know where that person is. But it is also very important to create space. So show some finesse, show some skill, show some footwork, use things like the drop step, use things like the up and under, use things like the various hook shots. There's the spin move in the post. There's so many things that you can do to be a better player than just be the guy that blasts people. You're not Shaquille O'Neal. You probably won't get away with it for very long. And if you finally bump into somebody that is bigger than you, good luck trying to use that tactic, because it doesn't work. So be the guy that can get by with these skill-based moves.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that you don't see much of that backing down and bumping down on the high school level. You see it in college some.
Well, they'll call you on it.
They will call you, exactly. And you get into the pros, and they allow you to just blast each other. So you get, and like Casey said, that's a blatant foul. I own that position, and you want to blast me out of it. If we were out in the forecourt someplace and I did the same thing to you, it would be called as a foul. So anyway, I'm ranting on that, so I'm gonna let it go.
Well, yeah, I mean, it bothers us, and the thing about it is that, like I said, as soon as you meet up with somebody that's a lot bigger than you, that does not work.
Exactly. You got to have other skills.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that it doesn't create good shots.
No.
And that's one of the other things here. You're talking about how can I get better at this, and also would a contested layup be better than an open mid-range shot? I mean, I think that's difficult to say, because it depends on how you're being contested on the layup, and it depends on where you are in the mid-range.
Absolutely.
Mid-range shots are great if they're wide open, which they should be if you're creating proper space. But your percentage is going to fall off as you move further away from the basket. Right. So a mid-range shot from 8 feet is going to be different than a mid-range shot from 18 feet.
Sure.
And they're worth the same amount of points. Yeah. So you have to judge what is a good shot, what is a good opportunity. Your coach is going to have an influence on that. Where the defense is going to have an influence on that, and how you've created space, whatever, that's going to have an influence. But you can also take a very high percentage contested layup as well. So, I mean, I could go up and I could take a layup with a guy right in my face and have a very high probability of making the shot, and also probably drawing a foul. And if I don't make the shot, I'll probably draw the foul and go to the free throw line.
Right.
So it's hard to say which is better. It's not
an either or situation.
Yeah, it's not a good comparison, really.
No, it isn't.
But I think that you just need to, Nate, I think you just need to change your mindset about that kind of stuff. Is where is the opportunity? Where is the best opportunity?
Right.
And if that's a mid-range shot, and that's kind of something that you have to assess in the moment, if that's a better shot, you take it. Contested layup, if that's a better opportunity, you take it. It's not something you can weigh against each other.
It isn't at all.
It's like asking what's better, to make a 3-point shot or to go to the free throw line and make 2 shots and get a foul against the other team. It's like, well, those are apples and oranges. They're both good, but how are we supposed to tell you which is better?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we're going to wrap things up here in just a couple seconds. We're going to lightning round this, I guess. Let's see. This one is from B-Boy Crow, who says, I started playing basketball recently, sadly late because at age 17. Before that, I used to dance, so my stamina and rhythm is better than most players I know. How can I get use of it, and how should I practice? Please help.
Well, telling you how to practice for basketball, I mean, when you're 17 years old and you haven't played before, there's a lot that you have to learn. And so what you need to do really is get involved with other players, probably, so that you learn how the game is played. And once you learn how the game is played, then you begin to pick up nuances of things that you need to do as a part of your game to be successful.
Yeah.
And then you practice.
And when it comes to that kind of stuff, like where you're trying to figure out what to do, you start with the fundamentals and you build those, and you take your time doing it, and you make sure those are solid. And then from there, you can apply them and use the 3 pillars of practice. If you're trying to just emulate people, that's not really the best approach. A lot of people think that is, but it's not. You're not there. You're not them. You're not their body. You're not necessarily the same ergonomics or same physiology as those people. And people always ask, is it too late to do whatever? It's like, it's never too late if you can still do it.
Yeah.
It might be pretty late to maybe try to play high school basketball, but that doesn't mean you can't play basketball. And maybe you can play high school basketball if you put in the work. But if you're already counting yourself out before you even start, then yeah, it's too late.
Yeah, it is.
But it's never too late. I think you have students sometimes that are in their 30s and 40s and stuff like that.
Yeah, we do. And they want to learn how to shoot the basketball. Most of that's the reason they come to me is they want to shoot the basketball better.
Right. Let's see. Let's take one more question and then we'll wrap it up here. Do you see one that you want to jump in on here? Okay, this one is from Rise of King Fresh, who says, how can I be a deadly ball handler like Kyrie or Allen Iverson? That is so easy to tell you.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there's this pill that you take.
Yeah. They probably started just like you, and they started spending a lot of time developing the skills of handling the basketball with both hands. And as you spend time with it, you get better. One of the things that kind of blows my mind is we have people who come on and they'll ask this question: Coach, I have got a really poor offhand or left hand. What are some tips to help me? Well, the tip is this is just one, and that is use it.
Get to work.
You've got to get to work and spend time on developing the skills with that hand. And then you still work on developing the skills with the other hand until they both are pretty much the same. And that's why those guys are so good. They spent time working on those skills to be able to do what they do. And that's how you go about it. You decide what it is you want to do, and then you get into it and practice.
Yeah, you have to have a smart approach. You have to utilize the fundamentals,
right?
Utilize the 3 pillars of practice and be consistent. Consistency is one of those things that people don't always get. They think that if they do all the work on Monday, that it's going to be there on Saturday. Yeah. And it just doesn't work that way. You got to work on it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then it'll be there Saturday. And it just really comes down to how much time you put into it. Kyrie Irving, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, Chris Paul, Stephen Curry, we could go on and on. Those guys have put in tens of thousands of hours to have the abilities that they have.
Exactly.
So if you want to be on their level or even get close to what they're doing, you have to put the same kind of application into your practice and really be dedicated to it. If you're not, then it's going to be something that you will never achieve.
Exactly. You'll be very average.
Okay. So that's going to do it for us today, you guys. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we don't like you. It's because we ran out of time. But we will be back next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time, for another live show. Make sure you're following us on all things that are social media, and we are Shot Science on all of those. Facebook, we're posting stuff every single day. You should be on there, especially stuff from you guys. That is awesome. We are on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. YouTube, we are at Shot Science, and that's where you can find all of our videos. Subscribe there. Follow us on Snapchat. We're doing new stuff on there all the time. Instagram, we're on there. Wherever, Shot Science. So thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. See ya.